Ash, do you want me to also just like go slower than my usual pace, or?
No.
Okay, because I know that you did the MTF.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I coach Drake.
Oh, okay.
I'm good. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Matt Chen is very fast.
Matt Chen is very fast. We're working with Charles on being more clear.
Oh, good. Yeah, I couldn't
Charles
understand.
and I have the same
Yeah,
backpack we discovered today.
He's what?
We have the same backpack. It's revolutionary.
Right.
Matt's not here. He decided not to come because the straight tournament's this weekend.
Yeah.
It's not like
Well, I mean, is he running
it's
Tad?
not like he needs the bit.
Is Matt running Tad?
Huh?
Is Matt running Tad?
No,
He's just
no one
sitting there?
runs tab. They just kind of do shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
That
I know
sounds
the
like
feel.
Matt.
I ran tab for about what?
Yeah, running Tab for Scarsdale was like, I think, the most stressful experience of my life.
Opponent ready?
Sorry, 1 second. I'm good.
Judge ready? Okay. Debate your focus on material conditions of oppression, anything else will move towards abstraction that shuts down important conversation in Query 14. Disparity between, when addressing disparity, when discussion that fixed to an ideal theory, the chasm between actual problems and how it turns into problems theoretically is the most obvious call for a paradigm for emphasis on actual. We cannot suggest problems are trivializable, and thus the standard is resisting oppression. For additionally, one reduction is a person with any that doesn't exist. Olson. If reciprocal transplant and recipient would be you, if we decided to destroy one hemisphere and transplant the other, the one who got the transplant would be you, the result of both hemispheres would be transplanted to different, if you had the two recipients would be you, but that cannot be one thing, two things. One thing cannot be two things, a contradiction. This means consequentialism. More theories can focus on the individual since nothing unifies them across time, only states of fairness and value. Two other variables collapse consequentialism. There's no acclamation distinction for states, Sunstein 05. Unlike individuals, governments always face the choice between regulating third parties and authorized private action, which means to act. The distinction between authorized and unauthorized action becomes obscure when the government formally forbids private action, but not fully discourages it. And three, ideal theories inadequate and interpretive variable means that ideal theory can't actually determine whether an act will bring us closer or further relative to an ideal state of affairs. 114. For normative theory, it's important to articulate the plausible conception of what it is from one idea. I don't even be better, and simply describing an ideal does not determine a metric of closeness, but even if perfect probabilistic coherence is part of an action. Rational, there are many ways of determining how closely it is approximate to being perfect. Describing an ideal will not give us a way of measuring an ideal theory has obscure crucial tests to articulate in common degrees. Advantage 1 is cartels. Big banks operate with impunity, they launder billions in cartel money and get away with it for nothing. Carter 10. Wall Street privileges deeply ingrained laws. Wauchope Bank accused of laundering a of 80 billion drug cartel money to the bank will not be indebted because it is policy done on prosecuting banks. The fine is so small that Wauchope will turn a profit, and drug cartels and organized crime can't be fought like other groups. Going after the money is key. They rely on funds and passing them through established bank laws in 17. Transnational banks must treat businesses that are profitable, but to effectively combat transnational organized crime, governments should place greater emphasis on the illicit financial funds. We have to go after the money. Organized crime groups reinvest their money through legitimate financial institutions that use so-called companies to launder money. And cartel violence is devastating, causes backlashes and overuse by security forces and forces citizens to either fight vigilante violence or extortion. If conventional military tactics fail and escalate violence, Girl and Vito 04. Violence stems from drug cartels fighting over trafficking. They control human smugglers, steal oil, kidnap and shake down businesses, governments and governments. Waging military offensive violence has only gotten worse. 167,000 murders, 33,000 people have disappeared. Groups have been accused of murder. Security forces of human rights abuses, extradition killings. Advantage 2 is poverty, money laundering, and fraud. Systemic economic and tax countermeasures are key to avoiding economic decline. McDowell Novus 1. Due to integration, money laundering can adversely affect currencies, but a lot of money inflows into global financial systems where it poses serious international security through large money laundering, money disappear, bank failures. This can cause liquidity problems and bank failures, financial crisis that has significant fraud components. Money laundering is 5% of the GDP. The illicit proceeds may dwarf government budgets with loss of control. Laundering can increase instability due to artificial distortion when these industries no longer suit the launderers. They abandon them and cause them collapse. The economy's problems can be prevented with property money laundering controls. And the first economic fraud and downturns such as the 08 crisis is increased poverty and suffering worldwide. UN News 09. The global financial crisis through Wall Street banking will touch the lives of most pushing millions of poverty, leading to thousands of children lost 20% of the per capita income of Africa's poor, increase of 40 to 100,000 child mortality. 2 million children face long-term irreversible economic damage as a result. Measures to revive growth and fix these systems, tackle structural problems of inequality, and we should privilege everyday violence for two reasons. The 8 point social bias underrepresents the fact. Piece of point is its effects are exponential, not linear, which means even a small cause of structural violence it has a terminal impact that is massive. Nixon 11. Violence is customarily conceived as an event that is immediate. We need to engage violence that is incremental, playing out across a range of temporal skills, slow violence, climate change, and other environmental catastrophes present formidable representational obstacles. Such everything requires that we complicate conventional assumptions about violence as the event focused still violence is exponential operating engagers that multiply fuel long-term proliferating conflicts where conditions for sustainable life become gradually degraded, and thus the plan text non-prosecution and deferred prosecutions ought to be abolished in the United States criminal justice system. To clarify, these are just two types of plea bargains. These are large corporations where they admit guilt and pay a fine instead of actually facing a trial, and the plan is key status quo incentives will always push prosecutors to plea deals if it's an option. Only consistent and constant prosecution will bring them to justice. Radin. Prosecutors come to rely on instead of a deal or deferred prosecution agreement which the company would acknowledge wrongdoing, pay a fine, and pledge to improve its corporate culture in a world where limited public resources. Prosecutors make decisions every day about why who should be allowed to plead unilaterally taking such a trial. Entails risk and it can be difficult to establish criminal culpability beyond a reasonable doubt. The deferred prosecution agreement is a sure thing that rewards laziness. Our agreements acknowledge criminal conduct do not make it name a single executive or officer responsible. Settlements lack transparency faces the challenges of entrusting any criminal case to a jury. Prosecutors or increasingly skipping trial altogether, negotiating a plea bargain. These grant prosecutors victory without testing their evidence. Presenting a case where jury skill. Prosecutors have few opportunities to hone it, making you likely to offer a plea agreement instead. And harsher punishments can solve deals that lead to large fines are just seen as the cost of doing business rather than two. Pfizer has been hit with 3 successive deferred prosecution agreements, paid a substantial fine and pledged to change their return to the same behavior. Companies view $1 billion fines as the cost of doing business. The DOJ did deny string of banks. The banks plead guilty and stay in business. Corporate deviance may become so routine that even pleading guilty to a felony is no big deal. Attacking corporate banks is key. It's not about getting them to work with us either. Harsh punishments and are key to the deterrence. Measure 13. The only way to stop the flow of dirty money is to get tough on bankers who help ask and transfer the standard proof needs to convict a banker of money laundering is simple. Any individual who provides financial services to criminal organizations should be dealt with harshly. There's little incentive for them to be more vigilant when turning a blind eye. Comes a little penalty. The stakes are simply too harsh for a small self-level approach. As long as terrorists can move their cash, will have no chance to halt their deadly trades. We can help put an end to these scourges by putting bankers in jail. Next is the underview. The first underview is method. We're not the law or the state affirmation. Making demands is key to movements. New intent. Making demands on the state is one of the basic strategies of social movements and radical groups. Demand does not necessarily mean working within the state or reaffirming its legitimacy. Demands are made from outside. They implicitly call into question the legitimacy. Next underview is theory. Plea bargaining is defined by Longley 78 as when the prosecutor induces a criminal to confess guilt and waive the right to trial in exchange for a more lenient sanction, either directly in the form of charge reduction or indirectly through the convenience of a judge. Preferred because he's a professor of emeritus of law and not a dictionary. Means he actually understands the specific context and how plea bargaining is applied, not just for a first-hand dictionary definition. And a non-prosecution is exactly that. Companies confess guilt, don't get a trial, and pay a fine or sanction. Stack 12. A company under criminal investigation by prosecutor seems to resolve by entering into a deferred prosecution agreement, avoid the column of trial. DPAs require admission or wrongdoing, acceptance of a statement of fact and a prohibition of public statements contradicting admissions in the agreement. And 1. Semantics presume an absolute truth. All things subsets are good. Over in 1. Nebo finds definitions unclear that humans have a intent to define the articles not about topicality. Definitions that just bounds are common. The plan must be an example of the topic considered. The topic combinatory power should be curtailed like specific plan and tell the truth. Generally, the ordering your plans consistently deemed topical, non-topical. And 2. Education policy debate to call policy as topics deserve to be debated that way. Over in 2. Quality policy proposition express a value judgment about policy and the resolution of the offer plan and change the nature of the evaluation to form can prove that a resolution is a resolution with obviously policy implication that should get to present a plan. And F gets automatic. Someone that creates a race to the best in term. If you read theory and I promote, if theory is a question of norm study, we should vote the better whoever promotes the best in norm on theory.
Ready?
Yeah.
Who implements the plan?
Do you want me to like spec an act or just talk about like how it works?
Talk about how the plan would be implemented.
Yeah, so it'd be like judges and like prosecutors would not do non-prosecution.
Which court system?
It'd be federal and state.
Okay.
Is there an implementation mechanism you like want me to defend for topicality purposes, or do you just want?
It does not matter. I'm just asking a question about the app.
Okay, I just do, like if you want me to defend like Congress passes a law to ban it.
I just want to understand why would state courts implement the plan since the plan seems to be about corporations?
Because states deal with corporations too. The corporations don't only exist in federal law.
You say, what's an example of a non-prosecution agreement?
Yeah, so a great example is HSBC, which is a bank. They entered into a deferred prosecution agreement with the Department of Justice, and they just paid a giant fine, but like didn't actually change anything. Like the second part, all the red and two evidence also talks about Pfizer, which is like a financial corporation. They've been hit with 3 of these. Each time they paid a fine and promised to change, but then they just do the same thing, pay another fine, and like never actually do anything. And these fines are just viewed as like the cost of doing business.
Is there a difference between non-prosecution agreements and deferred prosecution agreements?
I mean like slightly. So like a non-prosecution agreement is like we're not going to prosecute you at all for this, and the other is like we're not going to prosecute you but if you do it again, we might. But as proven with the Pfizer evidence, even when they enter into those deferred prosecution agreements, saying like, we'll just prosecute you later if you violate it again, they just sign another one, just like infinitely postponing the prosecution.
And why do they happen?
Why do these agreements happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, because so like plea bargains right now allow prosecutors to get away with like a good record on paper without actually having to do anything. So there's an incentive for prosecutors to always do this. Well, as if their plea bargaining was not an option, there'd be an incentive for prosecutors because they need to like get convictions. They would be forced to take them to court. and like actually convict them. And my evidence talks about that we're sort of in this problem where because people don't take them to court, they don't have experience taking them to court, which means they're less likely to do it. So it's like a self-feedback loop. So any shift of incentives towards taking them to court builds on itself because they get more experience in court, which means they'll be better at prosecuting.
So why would removing the ability to plea bargain like stop banks from like laundering money?
Yeah, the argument is that we can then punish them and actually lock them up, which means they won't
What's the like
doing it.
what? How can you guarantee that?
Yeah, so like
banks would actually be punished.
the rod and two and the okay, because the reason they're not punished now is that because they're just signing these non-prosecution agreements and are given fines instead. So as Manzo 3 and like the rod and two amendment says that like fines are just viewed as like the cost of doing business, but if we lock people up and throw them in jail, like that is much different. And like we've never like yeah.
How do you?
You want to start that?
Yeah. Sorry. How do you jail a corporation?
So you can jail like individuals and leaders. You can also like, for example, if you actually convict a corporation, the penalties are much larger than fines. So it can involve things like seizing company property, forcing the company to break up, or like doing it like there are ways to like punish companies much harsher than just oh you're a $10 billion bank, well we're going to charge you $3 million. Yeah, but the $3 million doesn't mean anything to a bank of such a large size.
Thanks. Interpretation: the app must defend that plea bargaining is on balance and moral violation. They only defend regulations applying to corporations. See standard 1. Resolutional semantics. Lack of an article before plea bargaining proves the topic concerns plea bargaining as a general principle. Ultralingua 11. The definite articles admitted before abstract nouns or nouns representing general categories, and semantics come first. They categorically precede pragmatic standards. Table 15. Topicality involves the rule that the app must defend the resolution. The rule that justifies the semantic approach would be unfair to expect the negative product anything other than the resolution. That's the only mutually acceptable views for private benefits are unique to debate stem from pleasure and proposition determined beforehand. Pragmatic consideration show them would be better if the resolution benefits which sentences do not mean what it would be best for them to mean. And even if fairness or education are ways in the abstract, adhering to semantics as a sign constraint achieves those impacts better than direct calculation. Table 15. Affirmatives have already abused entitlement to choose their own unpredictable vendor, and negatives have responded with strategies to worry clash, including vigilantist approach in which debaters enforce their impact resolutions on arbitrary round-by-round basis. Think of the utilitarian case where internalizing people's well-being is maximized not by everyone doing what they think maximizes well-being, but rather by people sticking to the rules of common sense. People act on mistaken calculations and engage in self-serving violations. That is exactly what happens when we reject the topicality rule in favor of pragmatic considerations. Second, predictable limits. The topic would allow functionally implement plans due to the lack of agent in implementing the resolution. The app could choose any person, government, or corporation combined with any feature of current technology or any type of plea bargaining, and predictable limits turning to theoretical advantage of plan focus because we don't access any depth of real-world education. I cannot predict their plan research or clash within, and also limits are key to fairness because there are infinite plans. The easy goal is cherry-pick the most indefensible use of the most defensible plan with no background. The abuse is supercharged with negative worded topics because every type of plea bargaining laws have some type of bad uses. It also turns topic education because the app will also pick the worst types of plea bargaining out the better ones. So we only access half of the topic web base, and limits are an independent road that's key to value to life. Harris 13. The limits debate has real consequences. I could put together a strategy using random argument, but there are always so many niceties. I have all night researching. I would like to go play catch, read a book, or go to a movie. A world where there are infinite affirmatives says this community doesn't care whether its participants have a wife or do well in school, spend time with their families, talk about anything without having to debate against. To your frame, remind me to debate an unending nightmare. Limits are a real impact because I feel their impact every day. And high research burdens kill accessibility. That's a pre-fiat impact. Coburn, Payroll, and Long 96. Lessons can be drawn from the recent crisis collegiate policy debate. One major complaint by many students as well as questions has been the extremely high research burden. One of the reasons for the enormous popularity of LD is the modest research burdens. The community can work in making debate inaccessible by making the transition from parametric to resolutional analysis, and accessibility precedes their standards. Quantity of participation both outweighs and turns quality in the long-term. Coburn, Paul, and Long 96. Even if concerns about quality of generic argumentation may be true in the short run, as education nearly all judges provide to help as many students as possible would be beneficial to accept a slight short-term decrease in quality to increase quantitative participation. When you consider that one reason why many very intelligent students do not participate is the great time commitment. In the long run, there might be an increase in their argumentative quality. Third, topic education. General education is where portable studies through Bio 87. General education has greater longevity since theories tend to have more staying power than facts. Only 8% of graduates list specific knowledge is the most important. They report that general concepts are more valuable over time. The value of specific knowledge declines while the importance of general skills for us. Understanding Bacon's military policies will have less relevance after 1989. Understanding military preparedness will have utility for as long as there are militaries, and no plans. Plan focus doesn't solve breadth, but does destroy depth. My interest skew to both Bio 87. Some have suggested that debating a number of systems will add up to the same education as debating a large number of subtopics. So only adds up to some of the parts, and certainly not the whole. There were literally thousands of topics on the military preparedness topic, and no debater was involved in more than 200 debating 200 subtopics provides a fraction of the depth of debating a single generic topic 200 times. Some subtopics are never examined by encouraging generic frameworks. The whole always exceeds the sum of their parts. The only way to encourage real breadth and depth is by focusing on the general topic. And drop the debater. One key deterrence. Drop the arguments. The app will run abuse the cases for the time skew. Two, the answer was for him. We do it after the 1 year should also means T always theory and mark theory reasoning, and T abuse of the forced reaction to mutual AC skew. 3, jurisdiction. You can't vote for a non-topical point. And 4, South reject the arc theory forces us to cover theory and substance, which we see shallow theory debates that said words through the activity, and use competing interests because reasonably is arbitrary and invites judging intervention also. And the semantic approach is objective, which means reasonably doesn't apply a dearest 10. The resolutional approach emphasizes the argument development. The onus is placed on the debaters instead of the judges engaged in T concretely using definitions and standards. 2, establish explicit criteria that gives clear roadmaps of meaning and evaluation, makes it more difficult for affirmatives to hide behind reasonability and literature. As a ground approach cannot achieve this goal. And F only gets RBIs if they concede the evaluation, voter, and competing interests for reasons. Only one is key to reciprocity because I means reject the argument reasonably make RBIs unique for the average CF of 41 advantage on theory. 2, only often counter terms can trigger an RBI gap doesn't win that mind trips. The worst for debate, it makes no sense to vote after theory. 3, if the app is going all in on theory but only an RBI, they already have a reciprocal source of often, so I means reasonably on T4. Double bind the I mean we reject the arguments, also the app doesn't need them. I mean we reject the arguments. 2, app doesn't need the RBI. 5, I'll skip the 5th card now on the app. I'll go top down. Starting on the first advantage, the Carter card always speaks the Wetrovia Bank, which is a bank in Mexico. It doesn't apply to the resolution because the laws that apply to the banks in Mexico don't apply in the U.S. and also, and on their second advantage, few problems. One, there's a huge probability issue. Always some banks launder money, but the application of bargaining applies to all banks, which means that there's a reciprocity issue between the banks that are being affected between the banks that are affected by the plan and the banks that actually deserve it. And second, they see that their impacts outweigh, but also that their impacts outweigh. But you can turn the internal wing, imposing regulations on banks that make it impossible for them to defend themselves, but actually more likely lead to economic collapse because the banks are the ones controlling the sources of revenue for all members of the population. Now going on to their theory interview on the overing evidence, the only argument made in the overing card is that Nebel isn't about topicality, but when Nebel uses the word topicality in the article many times, it's explicitly about T. Second, it doesn't matter even if it's not. I get to extrapolate the article how I want. Also, none of the evidence you read was written for the context of debate, but the cards in T are still written about debate. And also, there's always objective truth. 2 + 2 is always 4, and an impression is always bad, regardless of how we describe it with language. So the truth behind the statement is accurate, and that's what we should be waiting to. But the truth but the truth behind the resolution that it does speak to a generic. Now in the second overing evidence, now in the second overing card base, they'll extend the generic benefit to education, but they need to but one that wouldn't be sufficient to win them the T debate, because even if it would be good for them for us to debate in a certain way about policy topics, that's not how the resolution asks us to debate. In second, I'm still winning pre-fiat access to education arguments through the accessibility standard.
Alright. So wait, what arguments do you put on the underview? So you said that there is objective truths, the education is insufficient. What other arguments do you make?
First, so on the first overing card, one, Nebel is definitely talking about T. He uses the word topicality. Second, even if he's not talking about T, I still get to extrapolate the article how I want. None of your articles were written for a debate round, but we're extrapolating them to talk about debate. And third.
Okay.
And
the article title is Topicality and Plans in LT, so it is about debate. But alright, let's talk about the shell.
No, but I mean the bank stuff.
Oh.
It wasn't written for the context.
So let's talk about the shell. So you didn't read the 5th point. So wait. So if I concede that I violate your shell, concede competing interps, and concede that fairness and education of voters, I get an RBI?
So you need to concede that you violate. You need to concede all the voters in the shell.
Wait, so I have to concede. So just to clarify, those voters are just fairness and education, or do I also have to concede that limits is an independent
there's also an accessibility voter, which isn't I guess it wasn't marked as an independent voter.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I do
but just to clarify, I don't have to
concede
concede the links to the voters. I just have to concede that those things matter, right?
You need to you need to concede those things matter.
Okay, but I can contest that my counter interp allows for accessibility, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about this article, this plan. Okay, actually, which comes first through your standards? Which voter comes first?
What do you mean?
Limits, accessibility, or fairness in education? Which comes first?
You get to weigh between those. I'll answer the weighing later.
Okay, so you get to make 2 in our weighing.
What?
You get to make 2 in our weighing, and I have you can make 6 minutes of 2 in our weighing.
So I get to answer your weighing arguments.
Okay, but you can't make new weighing arguments.
Why shouldn't I get to?
I'm saying, are you saying
clear that accessibility comes before fairness in education?
You're saying accessibility comes first?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I turn the accessibility argument, it comes before any fairness in education arguments you could extend in the 2 and R.
Yeah, but I don't think that means I can't weigh I can't
Wait,
weigh.
so it comes first, but you can still weigh? How does that make sense?
So think about it this. So even if accessibility comes first, if there's still a huge loss to fairness,
okay, so it just
fairness
doesn't matter. So you're saying okay, so it doesn't come first a priori. It's just a question of strength of links.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So let's talk about this thing you read. What's the link to the resolutional semantics?
the ultralingua weapon evidence says that if there's no article before the noun in question, then it indicates generics, not specific subject.
Alright, starting up. So is your interpret that I have to defend banning all forms of plea bargaining? Or
No,
just
it
that
just
it
says that on
bad
balance, you should say that, like, in as a general principle, plea bargaining is bad.
Okay, so I don't have to defend that all of it goes away, though.
You don't have to defend all of it, but saying that two
So
rarely used
if the
subjects
AF doesn't
of
have to
plea
defend
bargaining
all
are
of it,
immoral,
it can
it's
just
definitely not
Yeah,
enough.
but if the AF doesn't have to defend all of it and it just defends it on general, won't AFs just be
So
shifty?
it's not
and
about it's
move
not
into
about
two in one
it's
AR?
not about the quantity of things you defend. It's about the
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that if the AF just has to defend it on balance and can't specify specific forms, but also it doesn't have to specify all of them, won't AFs just be super shifty and be like, oh, I defend it on balance. Oh, you read an indict? Well, that's just a specific example. I defend it on balance. Like, how does your resolution, how does your interp solve for the fact that people just read your shifty whole res AFs?
it solves for that because it makes it so that the app, even if they're shifty in cross-X, it still makes it functionally impossible for them to shift out of like neg disad links, for example. So like even if they're like I just say it's on balance.
Wait,
more
so
like there's no actual reason
no.
given in the app that would mean that they can
So you're saying
get out.
your interp better makes it so people can't shift out of disads.
So like my interp is better for
How is
shifting.
it harder to shift out of disads if I defend a specific plan text than if I defend the general resolution, and like in some instances it's bad but not all.
So are you saying that
Alright, it's
like
fine. I'll just keep taking prep. Can I read new voters and still get the RVI?
yeah.
Okay, I just have to concede to yours. Yeah.
You just have to concede one.
If the topic was released and it had a typo, should we debate the semantic version or the pragmatic version of that topic?
Semantic.
So we should debate the typo.
Like it's a typo, how bad can it be?
Okay, so if the topic was the United State of America should whatever, we should debate that over the United States, even though the United State isn't a thing. You didn't read any turns on case, right? You said defense.
Yeah.
Alright, 35 seconds of prep time remaining. The order's gonna be case then too.
Just top down on case.
Yeah. reading a bunch of stuff and I'll send it out. Just hit the save button. Right, the doc is sent. Let me know once everyone's ready.
Okay.
Right. All ready?
Yeah.
Judge ready? Alright. Extending Curry 14 evidence for concession of evidence means it's game over. You say I say this is a victory about material consequences. T is not about material consequences. This means that you will evaluate substance. We need to talk about real world issues of oppression. They're going to go for accessibility as a form of oppression, but debate is having a harder time researching is not the same as people getting screwed over by drug cartels. Extend the first advantage. Your only response is that it's not Mexico, but the bank it was laundering Mexican drug money. It was from the U.S. Also, all your responses are defense, which means I have 100% strength on the assault, which means that the AC is the AC attempts are just horrible kidnapping and murders. Next, we on to the honor view on theory. You say Nebel is about T, but my argument is that the article Nebel cites is about the article Nebel cites, the base of his article is a semantic article that doesn't talk about T and Topicality, which means it's inapplicable to debate because it doesn't understand the resolutional semantics of debate. Also, you say you can extract, but that doesn't make sense. Also, we're going for substance are good. You say there are absolute truth, but yes, my argument is that we prove absolute truth through substance, i.e. the reason oppression is bad is because each individual case of oppression is bad, which means that some substance are key to proving that true. Also, doesn't mean that there's an objective semantic truth whatsoever. For example, if I say a word, you might have a different understanding of what that word means. Great examples are shown in the word Turkey has lots of different meanings depending on its capitalized, undercapitalized, or what country you're in, because it can refer to different birds whatsoever. Next, go on to T. First, as an overview on T. The text of the resolution has no intrinsic meaning and only requires significance when rounding the topic of the advocacy reading T is incoherence. The abstract solution is the only proper interpretation to this round. Procedural issues about norms being used off the next that control the internal until their vote is simply they attempt to impose a problematic rule in Second 91. No text has a single meaning, no meaning necessary relation between sound and idea. They get the meaning in relation to others, found as any meaning, no associated in isolation, not in the context, points historical context, meaning is not only simple and sentence and according to grammar, includes its context when the text is about a dynamic relation between text and context in which the meaning never say, well, at the least, it justifies debate semantics over real semantics, which means I have come first, next, counter, insert proper, the affirmative defense specific form of the bargaining ought to be abolished, and one preferred plans are key to using appearance, which is key to judging over in 14. Nebel's reproduces bad debates, but either debate over the generalizability of examples of the issues, for example, finding altogether either which standard productive debates may be difficult to judge due to lack of standard for clear comparison. Plan debates is most repetitive and more form of intimate structure away from real policy making key decisions. Also with vote under jurisdiction always the level before you can evaluate the arguments, you have to be able to evaluate the round. Also, it impacts accessibility because people will just be shift out of this sense whatsoever, which means that debaters will be screwed over by shifting debaters, which means it's not accessible and it's not productive. Also, two, they overlimit their force the effort to defend the categorical ban on in general, that it gives an incredible range of pegs, regulations, processes, and dissent grounds allowing the app to choose a specific form is an equal playing field. Also, we don't create too many topics. There's like 6 different forms of plea bargaining. You can prep 6 apps. It's not an overlimit. Also, playing force makes research specific answers which solve that grounds. This also promotes research skills which will outweigh statistics valuable in any career influence and all other forms of education debates under the interim. We repeat the same generic everyone respond as breadth and depth. They're going to say that it doesn't access breadth and depth, but even if it's a struggle to debate in round, the fact that it teaches you research skills outweighs in the long term outside of debate, which means outweighs also every app has limiting assumptions about the resolution over in 4. That's the point. Over in 14. The affix interpreter stands for specific assumptions even if there's no plan to unanimous attack. The affix and parameters arguments about pipe organs don't apply to an app that assumes human organs and exclusion of diagrams and inevitable horrors. After studies from specific countries will exclude all the next study plans at least. Hold the app to a stable affix will horrors that truth that a country decides in the one area that's always source on that ground, which you can use for any case 2 plans and research clash. Next on to their thing. On the resolution, semantics 1 debate semantics, some first I already did that analysis. 2 pragmatics first. They literally said we would debate a typo if it happened. That would destroy all forms of debate and make debate pointless. Also, different interpretations of semantics are important for accessibility. For example, people from different areas might understand topics differently and understand certain words due to different dialects or understandings of the English language, which means this conflicts or accessibility standard. Next on limits, classify how they overlimit. Also, it's a bright line. Also, research smarter, not harder. Just because you didn't have answers to it doesn't mean you couldn't. You should research smart position, which can respond to a generic abilities app, which improves topic education and turns your argument. Next on your topic education, your responses, your generic cards are really bad. They're about topics not planned. That's bad. This is about why policy topics are written to be too broad because they have lots of subtopics, which isn't about why plans are bad. Policy people universally believe that plans are good and you shouldn't invent the resolution immoral as a whole. Next on the RBI. like, I'll concede that their things are voters, and that, like, I violate their shell, so I get an RVI, but also I'm winning on substance. So that breaks down pretty clearly. They overlimit the topic, harm accessibility, causing shifty debates, aren't good for education, and you evaluate substance first, because the debate should be about real-world material conditions of oppression.
What should we wait?
What?
40 seconds?
Yeah, you have 40 seconds left. What's the order?
ACT. On T, it'll be quick overview that talks about like paradigm issues, framing, stuff like that.
Okay.
Then I go into your interp or the counter-interp first?
Intro.
Or for the overview at the top and the intro for the topic.
Top of the T, lower top of the intro. Wait, top of the intro.
Okay.
Everyone ready? On the EC starting the underview, they see that the sites in the on the Overing 14 card, they see the sites in the Evil article aren't about T. They're not about resolution semantics, but Overing comes up with his own interpretation of those citations. So he's still talking about the T. He's still talking about T. It's very clear. Don't let this become a voting issue because it's don't let this become a voting issue because even if Neville isn't specifically talking about T, I still get to extrapolate his article to make a claim about the T debate, and also they say that we can understand words differently, and that sounds will mean a different thing to every person, but that's the point. When we have these differences in meaning, then we have to go to some stable basis for understanding which are semantic definitions. So this argument means that their conception of truth, the conception of truth that they defend given by this argument just means that ultimately we are forced to go to semantic interpretation now on T. As an overview to the framing debate on T, the extended Curry 14 saying that T is about material consequences, but the Harris evidence inquiry speaks the Harris evidence I read in the limit standard speaks pretty clearly to the issue that when topics are severely underlimited and asking just choose any permutation of plea bargaining and after choose such an infinite degree of specificity, then we ruin our lives correctly, and we don't develop fulfilling things outside of debate, which also can preclude our ability to enact material change, because if we spend our time debating and theorizing endlessly, then that takes away time that we could be using to volunteer or set up nonprofits that would help people outside of debate, which means that ultimately the effect of violating is that our time in debate is that the things that we learn in debate actually don't spill over, and we don't have the the things we do in debate don't spill over simply because we don't have the time to talk about them, and also they say that debate isn't the same as people getting screwed over by judges, but the fact is that the education we get from debate is only valuable if it has consequences outside of debate, or if we're actually able to apply that education, because that's the that's the only way we can measure education. And second, that's what fits best under the framing of material consequences being most valuable. And also, now on the intro, you can sorry. You can extend the interpretation of the affirmative and that plea bargaining is on balance and moral, and you can extend the violation that they don't because they only specify certain kinds of plea bargaining that are limited to corporations. I'll go for the resolutional semantics standard. If there's not an article before the word plea bargaining, then that refers to it as a generic, which is the alternate by 11 evidence. Also, you can extend the second Equal 15 card, which is that even if fairness or education are generically good, prime matters are always side constrained semantics are always a side constraint on how we function into be, because even if it would be good, if we were educational, we don't have as debaters, we don't have the jurisdiction to just say that the topic means something something that it doesn't, and the effective debaters creatively reinterpreting the topic to mean whatever they want means that debaters inevitably will bring personal issues into the debate space, making it irresolvable because they will just cherry pick the arguments that are most desirable to them, also leading to imbalances and ground between both sides. Apple just cherry pick the kinds of plea bargaining that are uncontroversial, and also they say that we should just come up with smarter strategies. But when the smarter strategies, but the limits argument proves the Harris and the Harris card prove why that would be impossible since when there's so many permutations of types of plea bargaining, they say that there's 6 types of plea bargaining, but then those 6 types of plea bargaining have to be multiplied by all the different courts that would use plea bargaining, and also all the different scenarios that would involve plea bargaining, which is different from the forms of plea bargaining, because plea bargaining can be used in any kind of crime, of which there are hundreds. So no matter how smart the strategy is, we still wouldn't be able to find one that answers all of those arguments. And besides, there's the fact that knowing the extent of the literature controls the internal link to our preparation against the rest of that literature. So if we don't even know that a point is out there, we still cannot prep against it, which is prep against. And that problem is created by the fact that there's so many claims that could be defended, and the Harris 13 argument also justifies why women are an independent voter. That's key to value to life, and so now weighing between the interp and the counter-interp, the overing evidence only speaks to specific issues of education, or the education that we would get from a planned focus. But limits are an independent voter that controls the internal link to education. Because again, prepping the topic would and knowing the topic would is a prior question to getting any of the benefits of planned focus education. I cannot make specific answers to the cartel scenario if I don't know that it's a problem in the first place, which is a problem created by you not defending the res as a general principle. And also, now on the counter proper. On the first overing card, they say that it says the only way you can evaluate rounds is through empirical evidence. But this means that but it's perfectly fine to debate general principles, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to debate the labs. And also, okay.
All right. 36 seconds of prep time. Alright, there was going to be an overview on T that's going to touch on the Curry 14 and the Zucker evidence. I don't know where you float that, so wherever that is. And then it's going to be an extension of like case offense, I guess, very quickly. Then like the interp and the counter interp.
Okay.
Ready? Judge ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 3 reasons you're going to vote after today. One point is that the cartel's material violence arguments are going to lie. The second reason they've conceded the Zucker 91 of it means T is literally incoherent because the context is the only thing that matters. It literally went straight, dropped, and conceded. And the third reason is they've conceded that there's only 6 F on the topic, which means the only real offense coming out of this last week's limits is now feasible for you to prep 6 F. So next, into the libel, extending Curry 14 evidence. The argument is that Harris is about material violence. They concede the fact that debaters having to research on a lot is not material violence in the way that kidnapping and drug cartels are, which means I actually outweigh the discussion of drug cartels is actually more important than what rich preppy kids are complaining about not being able to research enough for the topic, which means it outweighs their only response is that the education isn't valuable if we can't talk about it. My question isn't about education, it's about we need to talk about actual material violence in the first place to raise awareness. It doesn't matter if you don't use dating education, but next we're going for the Zucker 19 evidence extended. That means that the text only has meaning within the conscious. This justifies both debate semantics coming first, which means that your outside grammar arguments don't apply, and that the context of the AF is the only reason that gives meaning to the resolution, which means that the AF is the only interpretation of the resolution. These were both conceded and are easy AF ballots for you. But next, go on to the interproper. Go down to the argument about how there is only 6 AFs on the topic. Her only response is that there's infinite permutations, but crossed by that my counter interpretation does not let the AF specify anything. It says that you can only specify the type of plea bargaining, which means in the world of the counter interpretation there are only 6 affirmatives. But counter interpret does not allow for things like specifying courts, certain times courts, certain combinations. Also, she's going to go for you might go for the thing for the fact that there's 6 combinations. You can still have multiple combinations of others. But if you have answers to each of these 6 types, it doesn't matter what combination people have. You still have case terms. Except that takes out her massive defense on her only thing. Next, we're going to go for the fact that her advocating semantics turns accessibility. So except the fact that people have different interpretations of what word means. A poor immigrant kid in Florida probably has a different understanding of what the word wealthy nations mean than a rich preppy kid from California, which means that your justification of semantics as a basis excludes certain people from debate because their understanding of English or the language is inherently exclusionary, which means that you turn your own standard by advocating for semantics, which means you clearly don't care about accessibility, and your interp isn't good for accessibility, which means that even if she has some offense on the limits, she harms accessibility more. But next, go on to the counter interp. Extend that policymaking is key to the judge evaluating her. Only argument is that it limits control of the internal education and it's possible to debate, but that's not the argument whatsoever. It's not about policymaking being good for education. It's that only when you debate specific policies can you actually cut and read cards and specific evidence about it, and otherwise we'll just have shifty generic debates. She says it's still possible to do, but except the fact that people read holes as after just shift at a certain distance, or it will create an infinite amount of picks, which means those shifty bad debates. Also, that's good for jurisdiction because if you're evaluating whole res evidence about plea bargaining good for being bad makes jurisdiction possible, and that's an independent voter because it comes before everything else, because you have to be able to evaluate arguments in the round before you can even decide who won the round. It comes first. Also, it impacts accessibility because people will just read shifty AF that exclude people from the topic with lots of theory tricks or avoid actual debate in the topic, which means even if you do prep, that prep will be useless because people will just shift away from it. A great example, she says that she can't respond to cartels, but if I read Horace AF, I would just read a cartel's advantage and shift out of any dissats she read in the NC, which means that her interp doesn't solve anything. Now, next we're going to go for the research argument, which impacts her limits because it says that even if researching is really hard, that teaches you research skills, which means you'll actually have a valuable life outside of debate and be able to have a good career. That it takes out your argument because even if researching debate is hard, it's only because it's hard that we learn those skills. If everyone debated whole res, you wouldn't learn research skills.
Okay. Give me a second. Okay, I affirm. A few reasons. So, let's start with the Curry debate. You dropped Curry in the one end, so you did. Like, I didn't hear a response to Curry at all.
Sorry, I thought you said 2 end.
No, in the one end. But, like, your responses that you may renew the 2. But even if I give you the responses, he makes this argument that, like, Curry's talking about, and I think that this is true, like, Curry's talking about the material conditions of oppression, not, like, within the debate space per se, but, like, actually altering, like, passing policies to do so, which is what the app is doing, right? So if I buy that, then since you don't read any, like, substantive, like, I guess, offense at all, then I look to substance first, which, like, the app basically goes conceded, so I vote there. But even still, like, if I don't look to that Curry argument, Keenan, an argument I would have made, so she makes this, like, limits argument, and you turn it, she's like, the Harris card, she's like, she cross-applies it to your Curry, and she's like, limits are an independent voter, like, you need to have a life in order to actually alter material oppression. Then you turn it and say, like, you learn better research skills. Yeah. I would have gone further and said that, like, better research skills means that you can better alter material oppression.
Do you think there could have also been an argument that, like, theory and T-debate is inherently exclusionary because it's sort of like debate jargon?
Yeah, only debaters know what it means. Okay. Yeah, that's another thing you could have done. And then, so I give you the RVI anyways because you, you go for, like, you concede in CX that accessibility is the biggest voter, and then you don't really extend any links to accessibility. You extend links to limits, and then you extend links to semantics. Like, well, and semantics linked to, like, fairness or whatever, or education, but, like, I don't really hear anything getting extended from the interp proper about, like, or from, like, your interp about, like, what you are doing about accessibility. Meanwhile, he's extending all his turns on accessibility, which is that, like, when we, like, so number one, shiftiness is, like, super sketchy, and it makes it unaccessible because then, like, the negatives never actually, I mean, the affirmatives never actually, the negative would never actually be able to substantively engage the affirmative, which means that, like, we don't have an accessible, like, I guess, substantive clash. And then the second was that when we say that, like, we're only going to go by semantics and, like, you limit what the affirmative can do, then we limit, like, the different perspectives of people that would be, that they would be bringing in other perspectives on the resolution. So when there's only one interpretation of the resolution, like the affirmative argues, or you're saying that, like, he can't do something, then you are limiting the accessibility of, like, I guess, voices in the debate space. So I end up voting first on substance and then on RBI. Questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I have a question about how to handle Curry in the future.
Yeah, sure.
So I wasn't playing the debate at all. So
Yeah.
that's not, I'm not at all arguing or whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
asking, was the, like, implication from Curry to, like, interacting with topicality flows present in the 1AC?
Yes, I thought so. It wasn't in the 1AC, but I think that he did the weighing enough in the 1AR.
Okay, so what sort of 2NR responses would you have allowed to that weighing, given that it was in the 1AR?
Like I said, like, he responded to Harris even if I don't give her the 2NR weighing, but, like, in the 2N, I think that a good response, I don't know, like, say, like, I give her the 2N response, right? Like, I still think that it's answered, and additionally...
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just asking, like, what 2NR responses are possible at that point.
I don't know, I think that's tricky, because I guess it was, like, kind of new in the 1AR. I think that he makes, like, it's not necessarily interacted with T in the 1AC, but it's, like, he talks about it in the context of the debate space, so I still think I give him that argument.
Okay, so in future, we should ask in CX if, like,
that's
there's
what I
any
would do.
piece of framing. What are the pieces that interact
Yeah, if
with
she
topicality?
intends on just reading T, then she should, like, ask in CX. That's what I would do.
Alright. Cheers, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Chen says hi, by the way.
Okay.
I'm talking to him right now.
Oh, do you just still speak?
I haven't done that yet, but I will in a second.
I'm actually gonna hop out. I don't like knowing my speaks.
Okay. Like a surprise.
Yeah, it just makes me, I just get 2 times
Thanks
it's
for
like
judging.
infinite amounts of bracket math, and I'm like, I just don't want to worry about that.
No bragging.
Bracket
Thank
math?
you for judging.
No problem.
Good luck with the-
Yeah, you